For a comedian, the stage is a sacred space where the art of laughter is perfected. But for a heartbreaking few, it became the setting for their final act. What you're about to hear are the stories of comedians who left the stage to an audience's applause, not for a punchline, but for a final, tragic curtain call. From Tommy Cooper, whose collapse was mistaken for part of his routine, to Red Fox, who died mid-joke about having a stroke. These are the moments when laughter and tragedy met, and the show unexpectedly ended. Incognito. Incognito was a raw and uncompromising British comedian, known for his edgy, unpredictable, and often confrontational stand-up style. His performances were a thrilling mix of anger, self-deprecation, and dark humor that kept audiences on the edge of their seats. On April 11, 2019, he died. It was a moment of shocking irony that blurred the line between comedy and tragedy. While performing on stage in the middle of a set, he collapsed. In a particularly grim twist, he had just been telling a bit about having a stroke, a joke so convincingly delivered that the audience laughed, assuming his collapse was part of the routine. But he died on the spot, a life cut short in front of a live audience, who for a fleeting moment thought his final performance was his best bit yet. Tommy Cooper. Tommy Cooper, a beloved English comedian and magician, was a master of slapstick humor and famously wore a large fez. His act was a chaotic mix of intentionally failed magic tricks and physical comedy, leaving audiences in stitches and always expecting the unexpected. On April 15, 1984, during a live broadcast of the variety show, Live from Her Majesty's, Cooper collapsed on stage. He was in the middle of a bit, and his sudden fall was initially met with laughter and applause from an audience that believed it was part of his routine. The cameras continued to roll for a few moments, capturing the heartbreaking irony of a man dying while his life's work was unfolding. Cooper's death was the tragic end to a career dedicated to making people laugh, a final performance where the applause was for a joke he wasn't telling. Dick Shawn. Dick Shawn was an American actor and comedian known for his energetic, eccentric performances on stage and screen. His comedic style was often surreal and physically demanding, making him a captivating and unpredictable performer. On April 17, 1987, Shawn was in the middle of a comedic political monologue during a performance in San Diego when he collapsed on stage. The audience, accustomed to his wild and theatrical routines, simply laughed. They assumed his sudden fall was an impromptu part of his act. The laughter continued for a few moments until it became clear that this was no joke. He didn't get up. His death, caused by a heart attack, was a heartbreaking conclusion to a life spent making people laugh, leaving behind a stunned audience who had witnessed his final performance without realizing it. Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim, born Herbert Corey, was a performer unlike any other. Known for his ukulele and comedy shows, his stage persona was a mix of humble graciousness and self-deprecating humor. On November 30, 1996, during a live television taping, Tiny Tim performed his signature song. In a tragic and heartbreaking moment, he collapsed on stage while surrounded by the very audience he had just thanked. He was rushed to a nearby hospital but tragically passed away. His death was a poignant end to a life dedicated to performance. Al Kelly. Al Kelly was an American comedian famous for pioneering a style of comedy known as double talk, a unique brand of humor that involved speaking a mix of real words and nonsense syllables, often to hilarious effect. His quick wit and clever improvisational skills made him a popular fixture in clubs and on television. On September 7, 1966, Kelly was performing at the legendary Copacabana nightclub in New York City, a venue that had hosted some of the biggest names in entertainment. In the middle of his comedy set, he collapsed on stage and died. His death was a tragic moment that brought a sudden end to a brilliant career dedicated to a unique and beloved form of comedy. Heather Macdonald. At the Tempe Improv in Arizona, February 2022, Heather Macdonald opened her set with a joke about being fully vaccinated and boosted. Seconds later, she collapsed mid-stage, hitting her head on the floor with a sickening thud. At first, some in the audience thought it was an act. Macdonald's comedy could be physical, and a well-timed collapse might have fit the joke. But the stillness that followed told a different story. Staff rushed to her side as shocked silence filled the room. She was rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered she had fractured her skull from the fall. Joey Ross. Joey Ross was an American comedian and actor, best known for his roles in classic sitcoms like Car 54, Where Are You?, and his famous catchphrase, "Ooh, ooh." His comedic style was based on his distinctive voice and boisterous persona, which made him an instantly recognizable and lovable character. On August 13, 1982, Ross had just finished a comedy set in Los Angeles when he had a heart attack. Moments after, he died backstage. His death came just after his final comedy set, a poignant end to a life that brought so much laughter to so many. Frank Fontaine. Frank Fontaine was an American comedian and actor, best known for his boisterous and lovable character Crazy Guggenheim on The Jackie Gleason Show. His comedic genius lay in his ability to embody a range of eccentric characters with a blend of slapstick and heartwarming humor. On September 4, 1978, Fontaine had just finished a benefit show at a theater in Spokane, Washington. Moments after completing his comedic performance, he collapsed and died. Though his death didn't occur during a joke, it was immediately after his final performance, a tragic end to a career dedicated to entertaining and giving back. Robert Shiml. Robert Shiml was an American comedian known for his brutally honest, no-holds-barred stand-up comedy. He was particularly known for his raw and unflinching jokes about his personal life, which often included his battles with death and cancer. His material was dark, introspective, and unapologetically funny, as he used humor to cope with the hardships he faced. On September 3, 2010, Shiml was involved in a severe car accident while coming for a show. The tragic circumstances of his death were eerily reflective of the material that had made him famous. Redd Foxx. Redd Foxx was a legendary American comedian and actor, famous for his groundbreaking stand-up and his iconic role as Fred Sanford in the hit sitcom Sanford and Son. As part of his act on the show, Foxx was known for a signature bit where he would clutch his chest and fake a heart attack. On October 11, 1991, Foxx was on the set of his new sitcom, The Royal Family, when tragedy struck. While rehearsing a scene, he suffered a real heart attack and collapsed. His castmates, tragically, believed it was just another one of his famous bits and laughed. The irony of the situation was a heartbreaking conclusion to his life, as a man who had famously faked his death for laughs had his real death initially mistaken for a joke. Harry Einstein. Harry Einstein, an American comedian and radio personality, was best known by his stage name, Parkiakarkus. His comedic persona was an eccentric Greek character with a thick accent, which he used to great effect on radio and in film. He was a beloved figure in Hollywood's comedy circles and a frequent presence at celebrity roasts. In 1958, Einstein attended a Friars Club event and had just finished a comedic roast of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. He had delivered a hilarious, crowd-pleasing performance when he collapsed and died of a heart attack on the spot. His death was a somber conclusion to a night of laughter, a life dedicated to making people laugh, ending in the very act of doing so. Bea Benaderet. Bea Benaderet was a versatile voice actress and comic actress, celebrated for her roles on classic television shows like The Beverly Hillbillies and Petticoat Junction. Her comedic timing and distinctive voice made her a staple of mid-century American comedy. As she battled a serious illness during the height of her comedic career, Benaderet often used her health struggles as the subject of jokes. Her death was a tragic moment in the comedy world. Her ability to find humor in her own suffering was a testament to her comedic spirit, and her passing was a devastating loss to her fans. Richard Jeni. Richard Jeni was an American stand-up comedian known for his rapid-fire delivery and intelligent, introspective humor. His comedy was often dark and thought-provoking, touching on topics like mental health and mortality. He was a masterful wordsmith, able to weave complex ideas into hilarious and poignant bits. Jeni died by suicide in 2007. In a particularly tragic twist, he performed a comedy set shortly before his death, with his material reflecting the deep struggles that he was facing. His death was a devastating blow to the comedy world, a life dedicated to finding humor in the darkest of places, ending tragically. Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy was an American comedian and actor, best known for his work on Chappelle's Show and for his raw, unapologetic storytelling. His comedy was a mix of personal anecdotes and hilarious impersonations, which made him a unique and beloved voice. Though his death in 2017 came off stage due to leukemia, fans of his work recall that his last performances were filled with material about life, struggle, and finding peace. His death was a devastating blow to the comedy world, a life dedicated to humor ending in the very act of finding peace in the face of his own mortality. Mitch Hedberg. Mitch Hedberg was an American stand-up comedian known for his unique, absurdist one-liners and his distinctive deadpan delivery. His comedy was unconventional and brilliant, often delivered with his head down and his eyes closed, as if the jokes were just occurring to him. His final shows included several bits about mortality and his legacy, a poignant and tragic coincidence that would become the subject of his last performances. Hedberg's death from a drug overdose was a devastating blow to the comedy world, a life dedicated to finding humor in the absurdities of life, ending in a tragic and untimely manner. Robin Williams. Robin Williams was a legendary actor and comedian, celebrated for his improvisational genius and his ability to seamlessly blend manic energy with poignant, heartfelt emotion. His stand-up was a whirlwind of characters, voices, and impressions that left audiences in awe of his comedic talent. His sudden death in 2014 shocked the world. His final performances, though filled with his signature humor, were tragically later seen as a reflection of a deep internal struggle with mental health issues. His death was a devastating loss to the entertainment world, a life dedicated to bringing joy to others ending in a tragic and heartbreaking manner. George Carlin. George Carlin was a legendary American comedian and social critic, known for his sharp wit, biting satire, and irreverent take on society. His act was razor-sharp, often mocking the absurdities of death and existence itself. He was a fearless and thought-provoking comedian, a true master of the craft who pushed the boundaries of stand-up comedy. On June 22, 2008, Carlin died just days after performing his final show. His death was a devastating loss to the comedy world, a life dedicated to finding humor in the absurdities of life and death, ending in a tragic and untimely manner. Gareth Richards. Gareth Richards was a British comedian known for his quirky and charming style of stand-up comedy. He was a well-respected figure on the comedy circuit and had a promising career ahead of him. In April 2023, Richards was involved in a serious car crash and tragically passed away from his injuries. In a particularly devastating twist, he was slated to perform a solo show at the upcoming Edinburgh Fringe Festival. His death was a devastating blow to the comedy world, a life dedicated to bringing laughter to others, ending in a tragic and untimely manner. Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was a comedic genius, best known for his brilliant work as a cast member on Saturday Night Live and for his voice work on The Simpsons. He was a versatile performer, able to create a range of memorable characters with a blend of dry wit and subtle absurdity. In a tragic and shocking turn of events, Hartman was tragically murdered at his home in 1998. His death was a devastating blow to the comedy world, a life dedicated to humor ending in a tragic and senseless act of violence. His legacy remains inseparable from his comedic brilliance, which stayed on screen for all to see until the very end. John Ritter. John Ritter was an American actor and comedian, best known for his iconic role as Jack Tripper on the sitcom Three's Company. His entire career was rooted in physical comedy, as he was a master of slapstick and a brilliant physical performer. On September 11, 2003, Ritter was rehearsing on the set of his sitcom 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter when he began to feel ill. He was rushed to the hospital but died shortly after. His death was a sudden and devastating blow to his cast and crew, who were left in stunned disbelief. His final performance was a tragic and heartbreaking end to a life dedicated to bringing laughter to others. Each of these comedians dedicated their lives to one goal, making us laugh. But in their final moments, the art of comedy was met with the sobering reality of life and death. The stories we've told are a poignant reminder of the fragility of life And the tragic irony that for these performers, the applause and laughter of the audience would be the soundtrack to their final exit. They are legends who died on stage, leaving behind not a final joke, but an unforgettable legacy. If you found these stories insightful and you want to hear more about the lives of those who entertained us, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video.